Greetings in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, our King, our High Priest, Kohen forever, according to the order of Melchizedek, the elect one who sits at the right hand of our Alua, Yahuwah. All exaltation and glory unto Yahuwah's Kodesh name. My name is MELEK Shelemoth, and I'm going to do a trade recap here I did on ES and run through some of the failed trades and some of the successful trades. All right, so we're going to start here with the context. Right, so we're in phase C of a Wyckoff distribution. This is the uptrust after distribution at 60.5325 that was created on the 11th of November. I believe it was at 7 a.m. Eastern time, right? So according to the Wyckoff theory, we're supposed to move down from here and come down to the buying climax, which is, let's see here. One sec. Right, so the buying climax is at 59.19, right? So this is the 1 hour chart. I have the weekly Camarilla pivots on this chart, and I also have the weekly floor pivots, right? So we have a golden pivot zone here just above the uptrust and the buying climax. So that's a support level. I'm expecting price to break down to that level here, right? All right, so I'm expecting that this week. So right now price action is in the process of doing that. We had some news come out, kind of broke this downward structure right here and spiked up, still had selling, had some basically a consolidation day we had today, right? Let me just open that up a little bit. Right, so basically we had a rotational kind of day. It was affected by news, so we see this spike up, we see this spike down, and basically what I'm looking at here is what's the dominant player here, right? So basically it's moving down. I mean the dominant trend is upwards, but within the Wyckoff theory, I'm looking for it to pull back now, right? After this, we're supposed to get that pullback back down to the buying climax, right? So this is a quantum trading pivot level. So you see those red arrows right there. Every time those go off, that's from Anna Cooling, right? So she's the author of Volume Price Analysis, the complete guide to volume price analysis. Check out that book. And she created these indicators where they pop up at pivot levels, right? So these are selling pivots, right? So as you see, every time these pop up, we kind of get some nice selling action, right? So some selling, some price action is bigger than others, but most of the time you get the downward movement, right? So now that we got this retracement back up here, right? We got that selling pivot. We got this engulfing candle. We got this doji, and then we ended up like this today. So I would say my theory of the not my theory, but the Wyckoff theory overall view of the market is still to push to the downside, right? So this is looking here like we have some heavy volume. This is, I would say this is a candle that aligns with this volume because it's spiking up and down, right? So it's basically a doji candle. So we have buyers and sellers active in this candle. No price movement, basically breaking out of this area right here, right? So it could be some absorption, it could be some selling, right? I would go with the prior candle as well, which shows that selling is in progress, right? Even this news candle right here, we could see sellers took over this candle right here. So this was the buyers move today, right? Got this buying wick, didn't get any follow through, and they got that pullback, right? So that's the overall context. So with that being said, I'll move on to, this is the open of the RTH at 9:30 a.m. Right? Those yellow lines right there are the anchored VWAP. This is +3, +2, +1. That's VWAP. That's -1. That's -2. And that's -3 deviations. Right? So I'll just walk you through my strategies and how I look at these things, right? In alignment with my Camarilla pivots. So we broke down from here, came down to this level here, right? So we came down to Camarilla S3. Let me just open that up. And then I'll take you over to the Trader Map Lite chart where we don't have these encompassing algos, right? That's on the offer and the bid. So it gives a little more clarity. So firstly, this is a 365 strategy, right? So it's the Camarillas are in an overlapping lower value relationship. So I have these labeled over here, overlapping lower value, 59, 99, 25, right? So when it pops back up and it retests this area here, I'm looking for it to, the 365 is basically, let me just, right? So it's basically a downtrend, a retest of a Camarilla S3 and -2 or -1 deviation, and then a continuation down, right? So it's basically making a circle, right? So that's why I call it the 365. So it's making a circle and ending up to the downside, right? So what happened here was more of like a bowling green strategy, which is basically the opposite of the 365. So I didn't get the breakdown from here. We got the accumulation between -2 and -1, and it stopped me out, right? So instead of getting the follow through to the downside, it stopped me out. The bowling green strategy is basically a retest of like Camarilla S3, Camarilla S4, accumulation between -2, -3, and a breakout trade at one of these levels here, either -2 or -3, to +1 deviation or +2 deviation, right? So what we see here was it got up to VWAP, pulled back to -2 deviation, right? We kind of bounced around here. Eventually it got up to +1 deviation, came back down to -1 deviation. So we're in a kind of rotation around VWAP and between those deviation bands. And now we get up here to around Camarilla R3, right? So Camarilla R3 is at 60.2675, right? So this right here is the weekly VWAP VPOC session. This is the weekly VPOC for the weekly session, right? So I have this labeled right here, VPOC weekly session, right? And this one right here is yesterday's VPOC at 60.2425. So this area right here is a high volume area, right? So it's coinciding with the POC from yesterday, right? The TPO POC at 60.2575 and Camarilla R3 at this level, 60.2675, right? So I'm looking for what I call a black sun strategy, which is basically a rejection of Camarilla R3 or R4 at first or second upper deviation, right? So we come up here, we're pushing up. Let me just open this up. Right, so we're pushing up, we get high volume. Right, we get high volume. We get spikes on the market pulse VPI, which is my VPA dominance, and VP is my VPA attack, right? So that's buying spikes we got there. and then we got high volume, right? So we're pushing into this level here. So right now I'm gonna switch over to the trader map light where I could show you a little better when it comes to the liquidity, right? So where is it? So I want to show you some of the criterias for the strategy, right? So let's see, where is it? Where is it? Right, so it's right here. All right, so we're looking for absorption from passive orders on the offer. We got that, right? We got the absorption indicators going off. Let me see if I could open that a little bit more. Right. Right. So we got absorption from the sellers, the liquidity on the offer, buyers getting absorbed by this. Then we get buying exhaustion on the best offer, right? Which is that red line right there. So what I mean by buying exhaustion is this, right? Like let's see what's not buying absorption. So what I mean by this is that we don't get price action transacting at the best offer. So when market orders are transacting aggressively, the market makers send them to the best offer, right? The highest price. So what we're seeing here, they're not aggressive because they're not getting sent to the best offer, right? That's a sign of exhaustion. So what's happening here is the opposite, right? You're getting sellers hitting the bid. So they're hitting the best bid, right? You see they're hitting the best bid until they start breaking down. So you don't get any buyers on the offer. You get sellers on the bid. They break down, and then we run into +2 VWAP, and you see more selling exhaustion right there on the best offer. Take the short, and again, that's the high volume right there. No follow through from the buy side, right? And all this is happening around, let's go back here, around this VPOC level, weekly VPOC, yesterday's VPOC, right? So took the short here, and my stop loss was at, so my entry is at 60, 23, 25. Stop loss is at 60, 25, 25, right? So what, as you see here, I start stepping down my stop loss, right? Right, so let's show you over on Trader Map Lite why I'm doing that. Right, so you see this is one of the heaviest liquidity areas right here, right? So I move my stop above the structure, right? So that's as you see there's more buying exhaustion on the best offer. Place my stop right there. Step down again, buying exhaustion on the offer. Place my stop right there, buying exhaustion on the offer. And these are all lowest points of supply, right? So step down here to this liquidity area, and then eventually, let's see here, go back, pull this up. And eventually we break down +2 VWAP, which is this line right here, dash yellow line. And another thing, you see the offer, the passive offers, right? They're stepping down with price action. So they're basically creating a cap over price where buyers would have to take them out before they move higher, right? So they're stepping down with price. These guys are pulling their offers. You see, they're not interacting with price. That's the best bid. I mean, the offers on the bid. they're pulling away, right? Now this is a change in I think this one got hit right here, right? So that's the first transaction of buyers, sellers hitting some passive buyers. We get a little pullback. And then you see this consolidation right here. We get that push up above +1 VWAP. So I stopped out right there. So I could have put my stop a little closer, but I decided to just give +1 VWAP a chance to create some resistance, right? It didn't create the resistance, so I stopped out. All right, let's look for another trade I did here. Right, so that was a successful trade right there. So after the Blackstone strategy did not move directly down, right? Because I'm looking for like 10 points in a to take profit, like for the entire trade, I'm looking for 10 points. Sometimes I get less, right? So price action didn't follow through to the downside. We got this kind of reversal here, right? So that's my Blackstone strategy entry. Reversal has begun, stopped out, pushed up. This was basically another retest of this level here, Camarilla artery and all this right here to get another trade, right? I opted to not take another trade because of the volume coming in here, right? You see there's rise in volume. So I decided to just wait this out and see if we're going to get a break above Camarilla artery because we're in an overlapping lower value relationship. So if we get a break above and they sustain that break above, we could get a break up to Camarilla R4, right? So we're pushing through these VPOC levels. And we have heavy volume coming in here, right? Now, this could be exhaustion as well, but I see the low volume pullback, right? So there's low volume on the sell side. Sellers didn't come into play really here, right? We had a selling spike, right? From the absorption, selling absorption going off. But then that quickly just quelled and came back to the mean and low volume selling. So if sellers wanted to take control here, they didn't really show their hand via the volume, right? So I didn't take another setup for a breakdown of this level. I opted to take a buy here, right? Stop loss was at, where is it? 60.2650. Entry is at 60.2850, right? Now, after the buy, pushed up a little bit, slight pullback to the break-even point, and the heavy volume comes in, right? Now, I'm still wary of this area for like a breakdown of +2 VWAP, right? So as we moved up, as we pulled back here, started to break the structure, I decided to hop out of this trade. So took some small profit there as well, 630.25. So from 660.2850 to 60.30.25. So small profit right there, right? Decided to just hop out of that trade. I believe this was my first partial right here, but we just missed it, right? So that was another indication for me to like, let me just preserve some profits, right? Before this actually breaks down. So we got another low volume retest, right? And started to push up here. But we hit this heavy liquidity here and got absorbed again by an exhaustion. Low volume though on the pullback. So sellers took control. Volume started to come in kind of at the end here when we got back to this VPOC level. So came back to these VPOC yesterday, VPOC and the weekly session VPOC. And let's see here. Let's see. I think there was one more trade that I kind of missed out on, right? So if we're let me just put this into context here. So we're looking for the breakout of Camarilla Artery. We're building an auction above Camarilla Artery. So this is looking good for a breakout, right? So what the buyers have to start taking this up, right? Now, if they don't, let's see what's happening here. We're starting to get these high volume pullbacks. So we're seeing sellers stepping in, volume pushing up, right? This is buying volume right here. No follow through, right? We're stopping right here. No follow through. Let's see where that is, right? Right. So this is basically a retest of this breakdown area right here, right? And all of this right here. So breakdown, retest. No follow through. They should have took this up, right? So all these are signs of an impending sell trade, right? So now the Black Sun strategy is setting up again after the consolidation, and we get no follow through. We got the first breakdown on high volume, low volume retest from the buyers. You see low volume, came back up here, retested. No follow through from the buyers, exhaustion right there. Took the sell trade right there, right? So heavy volume on the buy side, no push through above +1 VWAP. Camarilla Artery is right here as resistance. And you see we get that consolidation and breakdown right there. So let me go over to this screen here. Let's see, what time is this? 14:24. So let's go over to Trader Map Lite and let's see how that's looking. So what we see here is a lot of offers on the bid, right? Now, as price breaks down, I start noticing that the bid is getting pulled, right? This guy stayed in the bid and pulled at the last minute, right? So all of them are pulling, they're not interacting, they don't want to buy, right? We get the pullback, retest right here, right? There's a strong bid underneath, but there's no offers, there's no liquidity on the offer. This is another reason why they should have pushed through on this high volume, right? So that shows that there's some absorption going on here because it was an easy push through. There wasn't any volume on the offer side that's creating resistance. So we start pulling back. Entered my short trade right here at 60.2650. Camarilla Artery breakdown of +1 VWAP. Black Sun strategy. Again, the passive orders on the bid, they start pulling away, right? Now, in hindsight, I should have kept this trade, but as we broke above this level right here, so we had a pullback, shallow pullback, breakdown, and then we broke above this shallow pullback right here, right? So I decided to opt out of this trade because volume started to come in as we were moving up, right? So I should have basically stayed in this trade because look what happened here. Right, so this trade ended up being a beautiful sell trade from all the way from +1 VWAP, came down to the mid price, even to the session VWAP, and this is what I was aiming for, right? At least to the session VWAP, but I didn't get there. You know, I exited right there, and I shouldn't have. I probably should have held it a little more but the reason for that is because these drawdowns in these prop firm accounts and these evaluation accounts are really tricky. So you're best to just secure this right here and move on to the other trade, right? Instead of giving back and hoping that it will go in your direction, because at this point here, I don't know if it's really going to break down to these levels, right? But it did, and missed out on a lot right here. This almost got to -1 VWAP, right? So those were the trades for today on ES, and those were my strategies: Black Sun strategy and 360 Fire strategy. The first one, 360 Fire, that didn't work out because we got the reversal, and again I'm working off of the higher time frame here, where I'm looking for mostly shorts, right? Because I'm looking for this price action this week to keep on breaking down. Right, so I'm basically looking, I'm on the bear side of the market right now. This is a golden pivot zone of Camarilla S3 at 59.3850. Central pivot is at 59.3075, right? So I'm looking for price to come back to this level right here during this week's session and probably hit the buying climax at 59.18. All right, so that was my trade recap. I hope you all enjoyed the breakdown. I hope it was clear and concise. And these are my strategies. Each strategy is basically, it's a personal thing, right? It's to your trade tolerance and what you could actually execute. Because you could look at these strategies, but it's not within your personality to execute these strategies, right? So strategies are really like a psychological way of trading in the market, and everybody has a different personality and they approach the market differently. So my strategies might not necessarily work for you, right? So, and as a disclaimer, trading is a risky thing, so don't think that you're gonna execute these strategies and be as successful in it as I am, right? So even me, it's like I showed how I exit prematurely here. Let's see, go back to the front screen. If I had just held this strategy, right? So this is an example of me not executing my strategy properly, right? Because of fear of giving back too much. Let's see, let's open this here. This was basically a shallow pullback right here, right? It was a shallow pullback. I was actually moving my stop down to this heavy liquidity area here, right? And they clipped me out. So as you can see, it's just a shallow pullback and we start moving down lower, right? So that's why I'm saying your personality has to match the strategy. So one of my learning points from this, from doing these reviews, is that hold the trade more, right? Give the trade room to work. Give your strategy room to work, right? So yeah, that's my analysis on strategies and just my opinion on trading in general. You gotta work out these things on your own. Even if you copy somebody's strategy, you're probably gonna have to make tweaks to it to make it your own, right? And I also give my strategies names, so you kind of have more ownership when you give something a name, right? If you name something, you own it and you take better care of it if you own something, right? So yeah, my name is Melek. Mikhail Shelomoh is MELEK Shelomoh Trading, and I hope you all enjoyed the breakdown. You all trade safe and stay blessed.